With 3 days left to fund the government, the White House is exerting maximum pressure on Democrats, threatening to fire, not furlough, thousands of federal workers if the government shuts down on October 1st, trying to force Democrats into accepting the GOP's short-term continuing resolution. Joining me now is Texas Congresswoman Julie Johnson. She's a member of the Homeland Security, Foreign Affairs, and Housing Administration committees. Congresswoman, welcome. Thank you for joining me. So a senior White House official told Politico there are no current plans to negotiate with Democratic leadership, adding, quote, "We're going to extract maximum pain from Democrats and blame them for the shutdown." Do Democrats have any leverage to extract the health care concessions that they want and keep the government open?
Well, let's be perfectly clear. You know, the Republicans are in control of all three branches of government right now, and they control the House, the Senate, and the executive. And so this shutdown is on them. They have the ability to do what they're doing. And so they're the ones that put forth a budget that significantly harms the American people. And Democrats do not have to support something just because they're trying to cram it down our throats at great peril to the American people. And as you mentioned in your lead-in, you know, they're willing to threaten to fire hundreds of thousands of people and extract maximum pain. The pain is not on us as Democrats. It's not on me. It's on the American people. And let's just be perfectly clear that the Republicans are willing to inflict great harm on the people that they claim to represent for a power grab.
Well, in fact, the White House, OMB, Office of Management and Budget, told agencies come up with a list for layoffs for employees whose activities are not consistent with President Trump's priorities. I mean, how do you respond to that? What are your concerns about potentially hundreds of thousands of fired federal employees and then the impact on government agencies?
Right. Well, you know, the administration has been trying to do this from the very beginning, right? They initially came out of the bag trying to fire hundreds of thousands of federal employees. The courts put a stop to that. They're really trying to weaponize the federal government for partisan purposes and a Puritan stance towards allegiance to President Trump and his policies that are inflicting great harm to the average American. You know, he only cares about a small handful of very wealthy donors that have supported him at great peril to the American people. And Democrats, we want people to have health care. You know, I want people to be able to go to the doctor and get treated and have when their mama has cancer, be able to get cancer treatment. When their baby breaks their arm, be able to get that fixed. You know, I want the average American to be able to get health care in this country, and that's what we're fighting for.
Okay, let's pivot a bit because I want to play some of a report by NBC's Priscilla Thompson. It's about an ICE agent who was relieved of his duties after he threw an Ecuadorian woman to the floor at an immigration courthouse here in Manhattan. Let's take a look at this.
The confrontation happening inside a Manhattan immigration facility, where ICE agents move in to detain a man after an asylum hearing. Later, his wife, Monica Moreta, telling an ICE agent her hair had been pulled. The agent then lashing out, slamming her into a wall before shoving her to the ground. Moreta, who was from Ecuador, telling Telemundo, "I've lived like this back in my country," she said. "Coming here to the United States, I thought I'd feel protected." DHS says the agent has been relieved of his duties, saying his conduct in the video is unacceptable.
Okay, relieved of his duties, but the administration has not said whether the agent was suspended or fired. But what is your reaction to this? And do you agree with other Democratic lawmakers who say that officer should be criminally charged?
It is outrageous, you know, and I think what we're seeing is just this over the top, very aggressive behavior by ICE agents. And I think you're seeing this real strong pushback. They're masked, they're unidentified, they're terrorizing people. You know, this family was at a legal hearing in the courthouse trying to follow the rules to be here in legal status in this country. And they're pretty much snatched wrongfully, you know, in a hallway and with such physical violence. And that's what you're seeing across the country. And I think that's why you're seeing such outrage from the American people towards these officers, but it's really towards their leadership and how they are guiding ICE in this country. This gentleman should be immediately terminated. It is unacceptable to behave that way and not just suspended, to your point.
Well, some outrage after Wednesday's fatal shooting at a Dallas ICE field office, rather. It was at least the fourth instance of violence at a Texas facility this year. The acting U.S. attorney for the district said that the suspect was motivated by hatred of ICE agents and committed, quote, the very definition of terrorism. So do you think these incidents reflect an organized pattern of violence or multiple violent lone actors?
I think they're multiple violent lone actors. You know, I think that what you're seeing is a generalized frustration in this country of what is happening, this unreasonable clampdown on people who are just here to work. You know, I toured an ICE facility about 2 weeks ago, just outside of Dallas. And, you know, over 70% of the people there have no criminal history whatsoever. So this ICE roundup is not of violent criminals as the administration's trying to project. These are folks, like one gentleman had been working in this country for 26 years in construction and has 4 children born in this country who are American citizens. And who's going to care for them? This is what you're seeing as a response to an outrage. If this is not the American government, this is not the values of democracy, this is not who we've historically been as a country and what we stand for, the way that we're having this unreasonable, terroristic, fear-inducing pattern of ICE and how they're interacting with the community, and you're seeing a very frustrated response by the American people.
Let me ask you about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who has ordered hundreds of senior military officers to Washington next week, where he is reportedly going to deliver a rally the troops message inspired by the warrior culture that he wants to instill at the Pentagon. Hegseth has not disclosed any specific reason for the meeting. To the hundreds of global officers traveling to Quantico, some fear he may make good on his call to downsize the number of generals and admirals. What do you make of this meeting?
You know, it is really bizarre that he's doing this, and it is so out of normal, ordinary protocol to summon, 800 of the top military leaders across the globe into one space on such short notice. And it really exposes, it keeps us vulnerable in our command structure across the globe, too. There's plenty of opportunities in our military for secure communications where our military leaders can stay in their post and command the troops that they are trusted to command. So this is a very, very unusual move, and it's never happened in the history of our military. When you look at it, it's really resemblant of actually, Hitler when he did this in the German military, commanding loyalty oaths. And I think that's one of the things we're all very concerned about, is this with Trump trying to militarize, try to put militarize our national cities and insert the National Guard into our communities here domestically, which is not the appropriate use of our military force. Are they trying to weaponize that? And is he trying to get the military generals on board with that and put these loyalty oaths to the president, not to the Constitution, as they swear under their oath to do? It's going to be very interesting.
It will be. Congresswoman Julie Johnson, thank you so much.